Hey everybody, this is Doug from Live in Memory, and I'm delighted to have my daughter Madeline with me today.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about actually one of our favorite national parks that we ever go to, and that is Badlands National Park in South Dakota. This is a place that I personally have visited a number of different times. And Madeline, how many times have you been there?
I think I've been there twice.
Twice, yes. And
Yes.
I think that we're going to go again someday too, because such a delight. What do you remember about the park, Madeline?
Climbing is always one of my favorite things to do there. Definitely have sustained many injuries from scraping my knees and just exploring the rocks.
Well, I tell you what, and this is something that I always enjoyed about Badlands, is that when you go there, you know, you're in a city and you've got skyscrapers and you've got, you know, churches and cathedrals and houses. Well, in Badlands, that is all replaced by spires and pinnacles and buttes and bluffs. And the colors are just amazing there, too. It's like the colors have come out of the sky and they just washed all over the earth. Isn't it cool, especially on the sunrise and sunsets? The
sunrises and sunsets are definitely some of the most beautiful that we've seen there.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. So, in addition to that, and then all the animals that we saw there, you know, remember the bison? Actually,
personal favorite.
Yeah, I know. That's we just love seeing the bison. The first time when we go out west and we see the bison, that's such a cool thing, isn't it?
One of the most majestic animals you can find.
So, what we're going to do today, we are going to take a podcast road trip, as we said, to Badlands National Park. And our tour guide on this podcast road trip is going to be Aaron Kaye, who's a Supervisory Park Ranger at Badlands National Park. How you doing today, Aaron?
Doing great. Glad to be with you.
So, I usually ask guests, where are you right now? Are you in the park or anywhere near it? Where are you calling from right now?
You bet. I'm in the park. I'm actually in the Ben Rifle Visitor Center, which is the main visitor center in the north unit of Badlands National Park, which is about 244,000 acres. This is probably one of the busier locations and a common spot for visitors to stop when they come into the park.
Oh, that is so cool. So I have to ask a question. Having been to the Ben Rifle Visitor Center, who is Ben Rifle?
Ben Rifle was a congressman, and the building was named after him. He's a Native American congressman.
Excellent. So just for everybody that's listening in, where is Badlands National Park located?
Yeah, Badlands National Park is located in southwestern South Dakota. We're east of the Black Hills, border-wise maybe 50 or 60 miles. From the western border of the park. We're also off of Interstate 90 as well. Pretty accessible for visitors traveling through South Dakota on the interstate.
And you're pretty close to that famous little town called Wall Drug, too, aren't you?
Yeah, Wall Drug.
Wall Drug, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping someday to do a podcast, you know, talk to the manager at Wall Drug to get a little bit more history about that. Because, as you know,
you should.
Hundreds of miles away, you get these, see these signs that say Seawall Drug.
Huge signs.
Yeah, I've got some new employees that just showed up today, and they were commenting on seeing signs in South Dakota from 200, 300 miles away, and we're asking about Wall Drug. So it's pretty famous here in South Dakota.
It is, isn't it? It's just so doggone cool. So, Aaron, what kind of main attractions, if somebody's coming into Badlands, for the first time, what would they expect to see? What would be the main attractions?
Well, I'd say to begin with, I think your description of the spires and the buttes and a comparison almost to a city looming in the distance is a pretty good description of what people will see as they come across South Dakota and get close to the Badlands. They will see the Badlands rising out of the prairie from the interstate and as they drive close. So one of the main attractions, obviously, are the Badlands themselves. As your daughter mentioned earlier, climbing in the Badlands is often a favored thing of many of the folks that come here.
I don't know, is that about moms, though? Do moms like that, Madeline?
No, moms do not like the climbing as much, but the kids have a lot of fun scaring the moms.
Yeah, the kids love to climb out here, and one of the more common injuries that do occur in the park has to do with what we call butte rash, which is when you fall down the Badlands and get scraped up. So, anybody that does want to climb the Badlands, you need to be aware of your own abilities and be careful and be safe out there.
And definitely recommend wearing pants at all times and closed-toed shoes, just from personal experience.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for sure. So you had a question, did you, Mads?
Yeah. When was Badlands National Park founded?
Okay, Badlands National Park was originally established as a national monument back in January 25th of 1939. And a number of years later, it was converted to a national park by Congress on November 10th of 1978. And as I mentioned before, today it encompasses 244,000 acres of not just Badlands, but also mid-prairie.
Cool.
And how many people visit Badlands National Park annually?
Our average is right about 1 million visitors a year, give or take. Many of those folks are coming between the months of May and September. So it is a very busy park during the summer months.
Now, you said May through September. Is it open year-round? Because when we've always come in like June, July.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So the park is open year-round. Obviously, there's many different moods to the Badlands depending on what season you come to the park in. We do get snow in the wintertime. Average maybe 25 to 30 inches of snow. It can be pretty cold. The wind can create some pretty dangerous wind chills at times. So our visitation is quite a bit lower in the winter, but we do have people that come out and enjoy the park in the winter as well as the spring, summer, and fall.
Actually, it's got to be beautiful in the wintertime just as much as any other time. In fact, I think a little bit more desolate, too. Just fewer people in that.
Yeah, with a lot of snow, after a fresh snowfall, the Badlands almost look like miniature Alps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Very cool to see.
That is really, really cool. So, Aaron, you mentioned about trails and that, and about the hiking and climbing. How many trails are there? Are there recommended ones, or somebody's coming in for the first time? What kind of trails would you ever recommend for them?
We have a number of developed trails around the Cedar Pass area within about 5 to 10 minutes in each direction on the loop road. Those trails vary in length and also in difficulty. Probably our most difficult trail, but also one of our most wonderful and fun trails to do would be the Notch Trail, which is about 1.5 miles round trip and has a cable ladder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. And then we also have a number of boardwalk trails which are accessible and obviously quite a bit easier, like the Door Trail, and also the Fossil Exhibit Trail, which exhibits the fossils that are found in the Badlands, in Badlands National Park.
Oh, no kidding.
I think we did one of the boardwalk trails to see the sunrise one day.
Yeah, actually, Door Trail is a good one for sunrise.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah, the sun rising and setting in Badlands. You've got to go there and see it. It's just the colors, as I say, it's just like the colors of the rainbow had just been, washed over the ground. It's just so absolutely incredible when you take a look at that. Yeah,
our sunrises and our sunsets are pretty spectacular. We've got a pretty open sky out here, and so you're not obscured by as much as you would be if you were in a timbered environment. The Badlands tend to shadow and also kind of highlight the rising and setting sun. And, once the sun has set, we also have a beautiful night sky that's unobstructed by extensive light pollution. So it's quite dark out here, and the night sky can be quite an experience for someone from a city or something like that. And the night sky here is a very valuable resource to the park and to the visitor.
Now, with the night sky, are there any special events you do over the year that maybe? I read once about an astronomy festival.
That's correct. Yep, we do an astronomy festival every year. This year it's June 23rd to 25th, and that's where we invite amateur and professional astronomers to come out and provide opportunities for visitors to view the night sky, learn more about the night sky, experience activities that kind of enhance that particular resource. And then we also focus some on the sun as well and use some solar telescopes and some tools to kind of exemplify the power of the sun.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Wouldn't that be cool, Mads?
Yeah, I love looking at the stars in the, especially just out west. We're not used to seeing that many stars.
Yeah, it's great out here. The night sky is pretty darn impressive, and I've had comments from a number of astronomers that have come out here for the night sky program of how dark it actually is, and we've been compared to some of the other dark sky locations in the country. That, as I said, that's a valuable resource, and it is disappearing. And unless we figure out a way to utilize light in a more efficient fashion while still preserving the resource, many people are losing the opportunity in their homes to actually see the night sky in their backyard.
How about any animals? What kind of animals do you see in the park?
Our wildlife is pretty spectacular. Of course, the largest land mammal that we have in in the Badlands would be the bison, or what people commonly refer to as the buffalo.
Sure.
And our buffalo herd is found out in the Sage Creek area, but in the future will be found in a much larger part of the park through a program or project that we're working on right now. In addition to bison, you can see whitetail and mule deer, pronghorn antelope, coyotes, prairie dogs, many different bird species. We're on a migrant flyway, so we do see a lot of different birds. And then in addition to that, we do also have bobcats. As a matter of fact, today I had a visitor that came up to the desk, and she was showing some pretty incredible pictures of a bobcat that she had seen yesterday, and she was thrilled. It had made her trip to get an opportunity to see a bobcat in the wild.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I know when we were out there was some talk of seeing snakes and on the hiking trails especially.
Right, and yeah, so we do have a number of different snake species in the park. Probably the most common that people will see are bull snakes. We do also have the prairie rattlesnake, which is the least aggressive of the rattlesnake family. But you know, there have been a few occasions in the past where people have been bitten, but for the most part, there's really no issue with that as long as people pay attention to where they put their hands and their feet while they're enjoying the park.
that would probably be a good thing to do. So back to Madeline's point, you know, the long pants and the closed-toed shoes is probably a wise thing to do.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, just for visitors to be aware of, is that the weather out here in the Great Plains, especially off of the Black Hills, can be extremely dynamic, and we can get temperatures up to 115, 118, temperatures down well below zero in the wintertime. But during the summer months, we get these really dynamic supercell thunderstorms that can come out of nowhere. And, they bring heavy wind with them. They bring the lightning, of course, rain, and frequently hail. So, as a part of a safe visit, I would say people paying attention to the weather, being knowledgeable of what the prediction or forecast is for the day, might add to their experience and provide a safer visit.
Excellent. I've got a cousin who stayed there last fall, and he stayed in the park, and he was talking about that. He said they got in, and then you could see on the horizon this thunderstorm just kind of like forming and coming towards the park. And he said it was just awesome just to sit there and watch the whole thing. He said it was just gorgeous.
Yeah, the power of the thunderstorms out here is pretty impressive. We had quite a few thunderstorms roll through during the course of the night last night, so it's impressive.
You had another question, did you, Mads?
Yeah, we've stayed in the park before, and I know my dad just mentioned his cousin. So the visitor center, isn't it near where you can stay?
Yeah, the park concession operates the Cedar Pass Lodge, and they operate the cabin. And then also the campground here in the park around Cedar Pass. So there are a number of places to stay within the park that are close to some of the areas of activity. It's recommended because of how many visitors we get that if you're interested in staying in the park, you kind of plan ahead and make reservations early. But, in addition to that, there's also obviously local lodging surrounding the area, and there are also several campgrounds in the surrounding area. So just because you can't find a place to stay inside the park, you can still be close in some of the local communities nearby, including Wall, which we talked about, but there's also Interior and Kadoka in the local area here.
Oh, that's awesome. I can say after staying there a couple times at Cedar Pass Lodge, it's just a delight to be inside the park like that. And, go climbing, all around there, especially as the sun is going down and the sun's coming up. It's just such a spectacular thing to be inside that park. And I must say, too, we love the visitor center, not just the visitor center, but the gift shop. The gift shop is really, really cool.
Yeah, and the scenery directly around the Cedar Pass area is really impressive, and some pretty big and colorful Badlands.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
It is, especially that morning. We would get up just as the sun's coming up and actually get out, like 15 minutes before that, try to get on the road and find a spot. and just stay up there the entire sunrise and enjoy every bit of it.
Great.
What about the part of the park? You've got those mounds, those yellow and red mounds. Those are so cool.
Mm-hmm.
What is the geology when you look at something like that?
Well, looking in general at the Badlands overall, you're looking at sediments that originally in the lowest layers were part of an ocean that once occupied the central portion of North America called the Western Interior Seaway, and the Pierce Shale is an ocean mud that can be found in the Sage Creek portion of the park. Now, the yellow mounds is a little bit different. That's essentially that ocean mud that has been reworked and weathered by a tropical forest that sprang up on top of the land after the ocean migrated out of the area. And then we have a little bit of a gap in the geology, which we call an unconformity, where there isn't any record, at least right here. But then we begin to see sediments washing into the area from the eroding Black Hills as rivers and streams carry that sediment load out and deposit it into what we believe was probably a basin area. And that's what comprises most of the Badlands that visitors see as they drive along the Badlands Loop Road. Now, the interesting thing about that geology is that Badlands is famous for mammal fossils. From what's known as the White River Group. And these mammal fossils are quite prolific within the park and have provided paleontologists with a wealth of information about not only the animals that once existed in this area, but we also learn about the environments that they lived in, and in some cases, maybe how they interacted with each other many millions of years ago.
So, Aaron, would we be lucky enough to find maybe the next Sioux T-Rex that we'll find in our field museum in the future?
Yeah, so, no dinosaurs in Badlands National Park, and the reason for that is the time in the late Cretaceous where you would find dinosaurs, which you can find in some of South Dakota, but in this particular area, we were underwater. So we find marine creatures instead, mosasaurs, sea turtles, and a number of different animals like ammonites and baculites. But that's really, just the lowest layer in the park. We're really probably more famous for the incredible array of mammal fossils that are found here. Animals like brontotheres, which were about the size of a small elephant, deer the size of house cats,
Wow.
Horses, camels, rodents, even some small lizards, even occasional evidence of birds, and even in a few cases some insects as well. We don't see much in the way of fossil wood, but we do see evidence of trees from hackberry seeds. So there's a pretty incredible array of fossils found in the park, and it's all given to the geologic processes that buried those animals quickly enough, and then the conditions afterwards were good enough to preserve the bodies of those creatures, or at least the bones or hard parts of those animals within sediments for millions of years.
Wow. That's incredible, just thinking about all the history that the park holds. So can you learn more online about the Badlands?
Yeah, you bet. Of course, all the national park sites in the country do have a web presence. Some are also have other presence as well through social media. Those are all opportunities to learn more about the park and enhance your visit in the process prior to or after visiting the park.
Cool. Aaron, is there anything else that we should tell people about Badlands National Park that would make them want to come there, really add it to their bucket list?
There's a number of really cool places in the park, and I think one of the great things about Badlands that you don't find in all national parks is that we do have an open hike policy. And what that means is that, yes, of course, there are designated trails within the park, but you can also hike anywhere else that you want. Go to an overlook and you see a cool spot that you'd like to hike out to. That's fair game. A lot of people like to go to Sage Creek, to the Sage Creek Wilderness, and hike out there amongst the bison and the rolling hills and wooded draws, which are a little bit different from the rest of the Badlands. And I'd say the other thing is that the park is really composed of two components, or two units. We have a north unit, which is the traditional, more common place for visitors to come to that has the Badlands Loop Road. But there's also the south unit, and the south unit has some very special spots as as well, like Sheep Mountain Table, and also opportunities at the White River Visitor Center, which is open seasonally, to learn a little bit more about the local Lakota culture in the area. So there are a lot of things that can be done in the park, and there are special places where you may find yourself feeling like you're the only person out there. And I think that's a really special experience.
Oh, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So, Aaron, this is such a great time. I have to thank you so very much for joining us today. And I hope that, just talking to you and, as Madeline and I are talking to you and learning all about this park, that it really does inspire people to, want to head on out, add Badlands to their bucket list, and then head on out and visit it. The reason why we call it Live a Memory is because to make a memory, you have to live it first. And so we really want to help inspire people to get out and make memories, and live those. And by seeing cool places like Badlands, you get out to see and do and explore and learn and have fun, as you go ahead and live a memory. And, it's just so cool to be able to do something like that. So, Aaron, I got to ask you another question. As we're doing more podcasts on Live a Memory, are there any places that you would recommend for people to see, or maybe you want to go see yourself, that maybe we can interview somebody and kind of educate you?
Well, there's certainly a lot of special places in North America or in the United States I'd love to see that I haven't seen yet myself, even some park sites. But a location special interest to myself, I would love someday to actually get the opportunity to go to Palau. And the reason for that is I'm an avid scuba diver, and that part of the world for scuba diving is world-renowned, and I would love to experience and learn a little bit more about that part of the world.
That is cool.
That is cool. I got scuba dive certified last summer, so I'm looking out for cool places to go as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I got certified as a scuba diver when I was 15 and a half.
Really? And you are a long ways from any place where you can go scuba diving too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I try to every few years, you talk about a bucket list. I try to, knock off another place to go diving. I've been in, Belize. I've been in Roatan and, of course, Hawaii and off of Saipan and a number of other places scuba diving. But there's plenty of cool places out to enjoy that particular part of the world. It's very different from those of us that are air breathers. It's fun, and it's definitely a wonderful experience.
Excellent. Aaron, again, thank you so very much. It's such a delight talking to you about Badlands National Park. We're going to be publishing this podcast out on Live in Memory on Twitter and Live in Memory on Facebook, and then we'll be making a downloadable MP3 so folks out there can listen to it on their car rides or at work or wherever they're doing. So again, I want to say thank you, Aaron.
Thank you very much. We really enjoyed talking to you and learning so much about the park.
Yeah, you bet. Sure. Happy to help out.
And again, that was Aaron Kaye, Supervisory Park Ranger at Badlands National Park. And then also like to add to everybody out there, if there's any place that you would like us to talk to, that you'd like to learn more about, feel free to drop us a note, again, at Live in Memory on Twitter and Live in Memory on Facebook. You can also drop us an email at liveinmemory@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear your ideas, for other places that we could do these podcast road trips. Have a great day, everybody. See you. Bye.